Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, folks, get the brooms out as the New York Mets opening weekend at Citi Field just swept the Toronto Blue Jays. And folks, the Toronto Blue Jays are a good team, a good hitting team that is. They came into this series 5-2, and the New York Mets disposed of that team in 3 games. And folks, can you say pitching, pitching, pitching? Because this is how the New York Mets' early formula of success is looking like. The starters are doing very good, well, and the bullpen is doing phenomenal. Today, same thing. Peterson, great outing. Not feeling so good in the fifth inning, had to be taken out. Thank God it looks like he was just a bit nauseous, feeling sick, no injuries. But, we're going to talk about what went on in that fifth inning because it might have appeared to be a little confusing at the time. We're going to go over some game highlights. We'll go over the game together. So stay tuned, like, subscribe. You're a Mets fan, baseball fan. We're going to have a lot of fun this year. I want to continue to thank you for watching the videos, likes, everything that you do to support the channel. I do appreciate. I do at an immense level. All right. So today, like I said, early on, the New York Mets have been using a very similar formula. They are pitching their behinds off. So, number one, for anybody, and I heard this comment numerous times that the New York Mets have the worst, historically worst pitching staff of all time. The worst. The worst. So I just want to point out, of course, they'll go through stretches where times are good, times are bad. Right now, times are very good. The New York Mets in this 9-game stretch have the number one pitching staff in all of baseball. They have given up the least runs out of any team, only giving up 22 runs in their first 9 games. Folks, that is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And you got to give guys credit. Peterson today, again, he didn't feel good, but before that, he was looking very good. 4.2 innings pitched, had to come out just one out short of, having that 5 innings pitched. And if you pitch those 5 innings, of course, you can get credited by a win. And, if not for his stomach issues, or nauseous issues, he probably would have been able to go. But nonetheless, the New York Mets, besides that, gave up 4 hits on the game. So Peterson gave up 3 hits, and then the bullpen came in for 4 1/3 innings and shut the door. Shut the door. As good as the starters have been, the bullpen has been that much better. Craddock coming in, and into a very feisty situation that we're going to talk about. Then Reed Garrett, another solid 1 inning, no hits, no runs, very good. Minter comes in, strikes out 2. He's looking better, and then Diaz comes in, closing the door. And the New York Mets are off to a 6-3 start. They are 1 game behind the Philadelphia Phillies, and they are already a team to reckon with. And the funny thing is, they are so far from where they need to be. So far from where they need to be. They have a bunch of injuries right now to the starting rotation. Manaea obviously out. Montez obviously out. The lineup is really hurting. Alvarez is a guy, Francisco Alvarez. Yes, he kind of struggled with the bat last year, but I always said how much Alvarez brings to this team. The Mets' record with Francisco Alvarez in the lineup is so much better when he's in there. So, Francisco Alvarez, when he comes back, that's going to bring a big boost. But Jeff McNeil stabilizing the back end of that lineup, and the back end of the lineup is extremely important. It's the production right now is almost nil. Siri is like batting under 100. You're having a lot of trouble getting things going. Acuna, Brett Beatty. Oh my God, Brett Beatty is, resorting back to the Brett Beatty of last year. It's tough to see. I believe Keith Hernandez, he brought it up. he struck out on a pitch high and, on the outside part of the plate, and they showed a slow-mo of his swing, and Keith Hernandez is saying his hips look tight, his hips look like they're not moving, and if your hips are slow, the bat is going to lag. So, folks, if that is, it looks like that was the problem with that pitch, but if he can't hit a fastball high in the zone, that is a problem. That is a problem. And early on, I was worried about Lindor not being able to hit the high fastball, because we know, last year, that's what Lindor was doing. When Lindor's in a slump, high fastball gives him trouble. High fastball certainly gives him trouble. But Lindor covered a high fastball in the beginning of this game, which kind of showed you that, hey, Lindor is almost there. It looks like he's feeling better. So Lindor covered a ball, but Brett Baty is just another story right now. I know we have a lot of bats that haven't been going. You could look at Vientos. Again, you could look at Siri, Acuna. Nimmo hasn't really gotten it going yet. Lindor. So there's a lot of bats not going. But Baty, there's so much extra pressure on him because the clock is ticking. He didn't build up value like Vientos did last year. Vientos has a lot of, he brought a lot of credibility from last year. He had a monumental season. He had a monumental playoff run. So he bought himself a lot of time. So do the other guys in this team, Lindor, they have a lot of time. They have a lot of credibility built up, a lot of goodwill, because we know that they've done it before. A guy like Brett Baty, no, he's showing the same thing. Every time the guy gets to the damn majors, same issue. So Brett Baty, time is ticking. Got to get it going. All right, so again, New York Mets pitching did great, only allowing 4 hits. New York Mets somehow finding ways to scratch things out. Nimmo said on the postgame show that at the end of the day, we are finding ways to win. And Brandon Nimmo, great words of wisdom. These are the games you have to win. When a team is going right, and when a team is of that next level, you win this game, no matter what. If things are going bad, if Juan Soto isn't at his hottest, if Lindor is struggling, if other guys are struggling up and down your lineup, you find ways to win. Right now, we are winning solely based on pitching and clutch hitting. Pete Alonso, another RBI today. Pete Alonso, 11 RBIs thus far. He's batting .290. He is leading the team in batting average besides Torrens. Torrens, I believe, is batting .300 with limited at-bats. But Alonso, he's doing pretty good thus far at not really expanding the strike zone. I know he's had a couple more strikeouts as of late, as of the last 2 games. But, you see pitchers adjust. Early on, pitchers were pounding the outside part of the plate, and they were hoping that Alonso would chase, just like last year. But, this year, pitchers had to adjust. You saw with Chris Bassett yesterday, pitching Alonso more inside, pounding the inside part of the plate. Then other pitchers on the Toronto Blue Jays doing that as well. So the pitchers adjust to Alonso. Now Alonso has to adjust himself. Today he adjusted. He had that single that he got squeaked to the left side, which led to an RBI. So you're going to see this is a game of adjustment. In fact, Alonso had multiple hits, a multiple hit game. His OPS is over 1,000, almost 1,100. So Alonso is doing good. But all right, so when we get to some of the game highlights, let me just address this over the top. I made a comment yesterday about Juan Soto being not on, about him being a bit cold. I had a couple comments about how I sound like a Yankee fan. Folks, I'm just going to give it to you straight. Juan Soto's a damn superstar. He's a top 3 play in all of baseball. I'm not lowering the bar. If he's having a tough 8 games, who the hell cares? We know he's going to get better, but I'm not going to say clap, clap, rah, rah, you're the best. The Mets are finding ways to win despite Juan Soto not producing at a superstar level. Yes, he's having productive at-bats here and there, but this is not a guy we would pay $800 million to. Okay, let's not go crazy. It's only a week and a half, 2 weeks of MLB season, but this 9-game stretch isn't the best of Juan Soto. So that's all. That's all. Juan Soto, like I said, at the end of the day, Juan Soto expectations of himself are much more than how he's producing. So that's no surprise there. All right, so let's go through today's game because the New York Mets they have opportunities. They have opportunities, but their opportunities are being squashed immediately. So I mean, we'll go through the first inning. Was top of the first inning. 1-2-3 by Peterson. Peterson retired Bo Bichette, ground out. Vladimir Guerrero, ground out. Anthony Santander, ground out. And what you like to see in that inning is basically Peterson is inducing ground balls. Ground ball, ground ball, ground ball. He's becoming a very dominant ground ball pitcher. He can strike guys out, but it's not all about the strikeout. He's being very aggressive, attacking the zone, and he's inducing a lot of ground balls, and he's inducing soft contact. He's being the aggressor, and that's what I like to see David Peterson do. So first inning went very good. 1-2-3. Then you get to the bottom half of the inning, and Francisco Lindor comes up, and I like the tone it sets up. The My Girl song plays at Citi Field. You get the fans into it. Everybody's happy. Francisco Lindor, he looks like it really gets him going in the beginning of the game as well. So he starts up the game. He singles on a line drive to right field. Yes, we're feeling good. Now Juan Soto comes up to the plate. Hopefully we can get things going. But again, Juan Soto is a bit off. And again, it's not a slight. I'm not trying to slight. But Juan Soto, he grounds out into double play. So basically, the threat looks like it's starting to go away. Then Pete Alonso gets hit by a pitch. And here, I always think of, okay, if, Juan Soto just made an out, now it's first and second, only one out. Of course, it doesn't work that way. So Pete Alonso gets hit by a pitch. It is 2 outs, 1 man on. Brandon Nimmo, I'm expecting more from him as well, but Brandon Nimmo, he pops up to Bo Bichette, and a potential rally was really stopped early, and the Mets go away. You're going to see as this season goes along, the New York Mets top of the lineup and middle of the lineup will capitalize. This offense is playing well below expectations. Well below expectations. Don't let anybody else tell you differently. It's colder early in the season. Guys may not be feeling, they're not in a rhythm. A lot of times it's confidence, groove. You got to be focused. A lot of the Mets hitters are really not focused. But again, they're finding ways to win. All right, so the top of the second inning comes. Andres Jimenez grounds out to Mark Vientos. Kirk singles on a ground ball to right field. Ernie Clement walks, and right away you have 1 out, 2 men on base, and Peterson getting into a bit of trouble. So what are you going to do? You're going to look for either a strikeout or a ground ball. Davis Schneider comes up to the plate, and David Schneiders gets called out looking on strike. So very clutch pitching by David Peterson. And next guy, Tyler Heinerman, he is up to the plate, still has 2 men on base. And again, David Peterson induces another ground ball. Inning over, threat gone. So David Peterson stepping up when he needs to. Bottom of the second inning, pretty simple here. You have a pop-up, Jesse Winker. Mark Vientos finally getting on the board with a hit. He singles, but Brett Beatty, he strikes out swinging. Jose Siri strikes out swinging. I mean, there are way too many automatic outs in the lineup. Way too many. I mean, Lindor, he should be a superstar, but right now, he's almost an automatic out. Nimmo, I mean, he's batting .235, not batting like he should. Winker, he's doing well as of late. Today, not so much. Vientos, automatic out. Beatty, automatic out. Acuna, automatic out. Siri, automatic out. So you got way too many automatic outs towards the end of the lineup, and this is where I'm waiting for Alvarez. I'm waiting for McNeil. Those 2 gentlemen should really give a boost to the lineup. And the update on McNeil is, I'm hearing 2 weeks away. You never know. but if he's coming back within 2 weeks, Brett Beatty's time is running low. All right. So top of the third inning again, the Toronto Blue Jays put up a threat. You have Miles Straw. He singles on a ground ball. Then you have a fly out by Bichette. Vladimir Guerrero fly out. Santander walk. So you have Andres Jimenez up to the plate, and he's got two men on with two outs. And again, Peterson with another clutch strikeout. And you see where it is. It looks like Peterson's game is he's attacking the strike zone. He's letting the opposing team put the ball in play. But when push comes to shove, when there's multiple men on base, when there's an opportunity for the other team to get a very important hit, you see Peterson really dial it up, and he's striking. He's having these very big strikeouts. And it's not like he has a lot of strikeouts. He only had 3 strikeouts in the whole game. But again, he had a big strikeout in inning number 3 and inning number 2. So he's getting strikeouts when he needs to. All right, so bottom of the third inning, the Mets finally get something going, and this would be all they needed throughout the game. It starts off like this. Hayden Sanger, he walks, and Sanger's actually, played pretty well in the absence of Torrens. Francisco Lindor comes up on to the plate, no outs, guy in first base, Lindor strikes out. Then you have Juan Soto, and again, even though Juan Soto is struggling, he has the ability to walk. He walks, so you got 1 out, and you have 2 men on base. Pete Alonso up. Pete Alonso singles on a ground ball to center field. Hayden Sanger scores, and again, Pete Alonso is hitting so much better this early in the season with runners in scoring position. He's already won 3 games by himself. He's already won 3 games by himself. So, last year, you killed the guy. I killed the guy. I killed the guy because I expect so much more from Pete Alonso. So, Pete, keep it up. Thank you. He puts the Mets on the board in the bottom of the third inning. The Mets go up 1-0. Next guy up, Brandon Nimmo. He, another productive at bat. Brandon Nimmo hits a sac fly to left field to Davis Schneider, and Juan Soto scores. That puts the Mets up 2-0. Next guy up would be Jesse Winker, and he strikes out. But that would literally be all she wrote for the offense. Luckily, the Mets pitching really kept them in the game. The top of the 4th inning was pretty easy. It was a fly out by Alejandro Kirk. Ernie Clement walks, and then ground ball. Again, this is the highlight or the key to Peterson's success. Getting ground balls, inducing weak content, and like I mentioned, those very, he didn't strike out a lot, but he had strikeouts in key moments. So you have in the 4th inning, Alejandro Kirk flies out, Ernie Clement walks, and Davis Schneider, easy double play ground ball. Peterson gets out of the inning. Next inning would be the bottom of the 4th, and this inning would be really indicative of the Mets' problem. Really indicative of their problem. Mark Vientos comes up, strikes out. Brett Beatty comes up, flies out. Jose Siri comes up, flies out. You need more production from these guys. And again, a lot of people, they get on me and say, why are you saying what the Mets need to do? They won. Well, folks, there is a bigger picture. Yes, the Mets pitching staff is doing phenomenal, but this is not going to be the formula that works in every situation. You run up into a very hot offense, you're going to have to put up more than 2 or 3 runs. It's just plain and simple. You're going to have to put up more than 2 or 3 runs. All right, so let's get to the top of the 5th inning, and this is where there was a lot of confusion. So Peterson at this point is still in the game. The Mets right now are up 2-0. So we know that the Mets, they can't afford to give up a lot of runs. Let's just keep that in mind. So the inning starts off like this. Tyler Heineman doubles. Then again, you got a man in second base, guy in scoring position. Again, another important strikeout. Miles Straw is up next, and that would be the 3rd strikeout. So another key strikeout. And then the next guy, again, listen to this. Bo Bichette puts the ball on the ground. So you get a ground out, and right away you got a man at second base, and you get two very important outs. And this is what I'm liking from Peterson. He is doing things at will. Need to get a strikeout. Then you go, you make the batter put contact, weak contact, hit the ball on the ground, get yourself out of trouble. Now, this is where the trouble kind of started. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is at the plate, and you can kind of see, Peterson, he's thrown a couple pitches, and I kind of saw Peterson grimacing. Like, this is the batter where I think he started to feel nauseous. After in the post game, Peterson said, "I felt nauseous. My vision was blurry, and at this point, he's 1 out short of getting credit possibly for a win if the Mets could hold the lead." So that the Mets, Carlos Mendoza, wants to put Peterson in that position, but it became tough. Peterson would go on to walk Vladimir Guerrero. Then everybody would come to the mound. They would check on Peterson. And this is where it kind of became questionable. In my mind, I'm like, oh my God, no. David Peterson, another injury. Thankfully, you see him getting left in the game. And the broadcast is a little confused. At this point, I'm like, okay, it cannot be anything serious. Maybe the guy has diarrhea, maybe something, it couldn't have been an injury. There's no way a responsible manager would have left Peterson in the game so that he can get a win and possibly further hurt himself and possibly, miss more time. It's silly. So I knew it couldn't have been that big of a deal. But Santander, he was up on the plate. You already have 2 men on, 2 out. Hopefully we can get Santander out. But no, Santander walks, and you could just see Peterson not looking right. So you have bases loaded, and is Mendoza going to go to the pen? I'm kind of thinking, hey, there's something not right here. He should go to the pen. And based on what Peterson said to him, he probably should have went to the pen before he walked Santander. All right, that's beyond the point. But next guy comes up, Andres Gimenez, bases loaded, 2 outs. Mets still up 2-0. And I'm thinking, you know what? Right now, Peterson is looking like doo-doo. And there's an issue with him. As much as you want to leave him out there for 5 innings, I think the proper move is to remove him. All right. Mendoza doesn't remove him. Andres Gimenez ends up getting hit by a pitch. Tyler Heineman scores. Vladimir Guerrero to third. Santander to second. And the Mets lead, just like that, has been cut in half. So what the Mets do is they bring in Max Kranick, who has been lights out this year, allowing no runs, and looking very, very solid. So Kranick comes in a very tight situation, and he gets Alejandro Kirk to pop up to the catcher, Hayden Singer. And that ball was, I believe he caught the ball in front of the Mets dugout. Pete was coming in. Sanger, the catcher, was going out, and it was in foul territory. I'm not going to lie. I was nervous. I don't like to see those plays, collisions. I don't know. I just got nervous. But luckily, Sanger called for it. It was an aggressive play by him. And more importantly, Max Kranick, the bullpen, comes up huge. All right, bottom of the 5th. Pretty simple. Sanger gets a single. So Hayden Sanger made a nice play on the other side, gets a single. Francisco Lindor, not looking good this game. He did have a hit, but again, in another key situation, he grounds into a double play, and Juan Soto lines out. So the bottom of the 5th inning, we didn't really get anything going. Top of the 6th inning, our bullpen continues to do well. Kranick still was left in there, and you had a line out, a ground out, and a strikeout. So Kranick ended his day doing very, very good. I mean, I'm super, super impressed with a guy like Kranick. Super, super impressed. This is a guy that you never even expected to make the team. So great job that you are getting this type of production from a guy like Max Kranick. And Max Kranick, to his credit, he got the win today. All right, so the Mets in the bottom of the sixth inning, they had their chances. This was another key inning that I highlighted, and this is another key inning that the Mets should have had different results. Okay, so the bottom of the sixth inning, Pete Alonso starts off the inning, singles a sharp line drive to left field. Great. Brandon Nimmo comes up. Pete Alonso on first base. He singles on the line drive. So you have two men on base, zero outs. All right. So the Mets have a very high probability of getting another run across the board, getting insurance runs. All right. Jesse Winker comes up, strikes out. All right. So now the Mets, two men on base, one out. Jesse Winker, the hero of yesterday. Today, that's baseball, not having the best day. All right, so now we have still two men on base, one out, and we have Mark Vientos walking up to the plate. Mark Vientos puts on a pretty good at bat, and he ends up walking. So it is bases loaded, one out, and who do we have up? We have Mr. Brett Beatty, Mr. Struggle himself. And Brett Beatty, another tough at bat. He ends up striking out, swinging. So bases loaded. It is two outs, and you have Jose Siri coming up. So Siri comes up with an opportunity, and Siri ends up flying out to center field, and that would end the Mets' threat in the bottom of the sixth inning. And this would be the Mets' best scoring opportunity throughout the rest of the game. And the rest of the game, you got to give the credit to the bullpen. Again, the bullpen pitched 4 1/3 innings, allowing one hit. After Kranick, Reed Garrett came in. He shut the door. AJ Minter came in for an inning. He was good as well. And Diaz comes in for a second save of the year. And you know what? You know what, folks? Again, these games aren't pretty. These games are not pretty. But the fact of the matter is, these are games that the Mets would have lost early on in 2024. Early on in 2024. So the fact that the Mets are winning games like this, Blue Jays, good team. They're a good team. And the Mets, their next 12 games are against sub 500 teams. You have no, Marlins aren't a sub 500 team, but they're not really considered a great team. So the Mets have 3 games set with the Marlins. They are, where are they going? Then they're going to, they have 3 games set with the Oakland Athletics. Then they play another 3 games with the Twins, then with the Cardinals. So the next 12 games, I'm sorry, 12 or 13, I think it's 12 or 13 games. So 12 games. So the next 12 games, I mean, the Mets, I'm penciling it in. The Mets should go 9-3. 9-3 by the quality of teams that they play. And I expect Soto to get hot. I expect the bats to get hot. I mean, the end of the lineup is, they have to do something. Siri has to hit. I know he's a defensive whiz, but he has to hit. He was never a guy with a great hit tool, but got to get some offense going at the end of the lineup. The New York Mets, they have Siri, Acuna, Lindor. They want that speed stacked up before Soto. But if Soto, if these guys don't get on base, there's going to be not many opportunities. I mean, the traffic that they've created before Soto is not that much. Folks, if you think about it, I know Soto has not really done or played at the level of production that you wanted him to, but there has not been that much traffic for Soto this year. Really. I mean, last year, Alonso, he failed a lot with runners in scoring position, but he had so many damn opportunities. The Mets have to do a better job at creating traffic in front of Juan Soto, having him come up with runners in scoring position, multiple runners on base. That'll cause the pitcher to put more pressure on them while they're facing Soto. You are leaving the pitcher, putting the pitcher in a great position. They can either walk Soto or make nasty pitches to get him out. That is not, a recipe to get Soto out of a slump. But, he's just so good that he probably will eventually get out of a slump. First 9 games, no big deal. We know Juan Soto's a superstar. All right, folks, let me know what you think. This was today's recap. You got to be happy. Mets swept their home opening series, won one game against Houston, 2 games against the Marlins. They took that series, took this series. As long as the Mets continue to win series and find ways to win, that's what good teams do. When one part of your team is failing, aka the offense, your other part of your team, the pitching, is what compensates and what is carrying the team right now. And again, I will continue to say and call people out. Everybody said, or not everybody, but many people said, this potentially can be the worst pitching staff in history, one of the historically worst pitching staff. And so far, that prediction has been historically bad. But then you juxtapose that, and a lot of people predicted the Mets hitting or batters to be a top or another 1 or 2 offense in all of baseball. There's time for that to correct himself, because I was one who agreed with that. I had so many videos. Can we be a top offense? You have teams like the Dodgers, up and down their lineup, whether it's Conforto, whether it's Will Smith, Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, everybody on that team, Tommy Edman, everybody on that team, no matter who they are, up and down the lineup, seems to be mashing. Same thing. Yankees are doing well up and down the lineup. The Mets are going to get it going. Every team, focuses a little bit different. Every team gets things clicking a little bit different. And mark my word, Dominant Mets Nation, we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep the bar up here. All right? We're going to keep the bar up here. We're not going to go rah-rah. We want our team. Its goal is to be a World Series champion, not to win game. I mean, you got to win games in the season to get to the playoffs. That's part of of how it works. But it's not, the ultimate goal is not to win games in April. It is to be that World Series champion, and we need to be playing at that level. And right now, yes, we are winning games, but we are not playing anywhere close to the level of baseball that we ultimately will have to. So again, let me know your comments. A lot of great comments from all of you. Stan, Music Man, thank you for all of your comments every video. Richard, you all have leave the greatest comments. I really do appreciate Sharon. Everybody leaves a lot of great comments. I do appreciate. I look forward to it. Even though sometimes I may not get to it, a lot of times I do see it. I read it. I appreciate it. And you know what? You guys are very on the ball. Very on the ball. I learn a lot from you. So thank you again, as always. And again, if you're not subscribed and you're listening to this, come on, subscribe. All right. Thank you all. Have a great day.